Hi guys, it's me, Zippy. How are you doing? Today is January 30th. June the 30th, 2021. And it is, a Wednesday. And today I'm doing a little short movie review on The Quiet Place Part Dos. And so let me just get right into the video. So I did watch A Quiet Place Part 1. I didn't watch it when it came out in the theaters. Actually, I watched Avengers Infinity War for the second time. I didn't know much about it at the time, but I did end up watching it later on, maybe last year I watched it. And so I really enjoyed the movie a lot. And I thought just the synopsis and the whole idea and story of it was like really unique. You know what I mean? Like a girl, not girl, sorry, but living in a society where you have to be quiet. You know what I mean? You have to, basically any slight sound gets you killed. I thought that was really different in terms of like, I don't even like want to call it horror because it almost sounds like too sophisticated for horror. But it was kind of like still scary. You know what I mean? Like if you put yourself into their shoes, could you survive? And I don't think I would ever have a chance of surviving. But it's just like it's not your average horror movie where there's a big villain come out of somewhere and just trying to kill you for no reason. It's just kind of like the basic things you do in life can be used against you, and you can be hunted for that reason. So it reminded me of like the Bird Box. And Bird Box is like if you see, then you'll get killed. And then in A Quiet Place, it's if you make a sound, then you'll get killed. So one movie is seen, another movie is you know sound. So I thought that was pretty interesting, and I really liked both movies a lot, and just the dynamics of the characters as well. I found there's like a lot of parallels between the movie, you know what I mean? Not just that, but even just how there's many characters and they're forced to make decisions that can put their life in jeopardy, sacrifice themselves, things like that. Some other characters, like minor characters, make mistakes and then end up getting killed for it. It just kind of was like, and I could make a whole Bird Box movie review too, but that's another video for another day. But I did like those movies a lot. So in The Quiet Place Part 2, getting right into it, I thought it was really interesting. And, comparing to the first movie, I would say the first movie really had a huge, it's so hard to compete with. And it just had this huge standard, you know what I mean? But I think the second movie tried getting up to that point, and I think they took the source material and they didn't just throw it away. They actually built off on it. And so there have the characters, right? We have the mother, Evelyn. We have um, Marcus, the son, Regan, the daughter, and then we have the baby. And we also have Lee, who's the dad, who comes up in the beginning for a little bit. And then finally you have Emmett, who is another character and like an old friend of theirs. And eventually we see this person who's referred to as a man on the island, if you look it up. He does not have a name, I don't know why, but Digimon Hanso's character. And so just gonna quickly go and brief over it, but I personally, this is spoilers by the way, so you better have watched this movie before, because I won't be explaining it. But personally, I really did enjoy watching the movie. And I actually the best part for me was actually the beginning for me. Like I loved how it went straight into like the kind of like a flashback slash prequel kind of thing going on there, where it was like giving you a background. Because I feel like a lot of people, even after I watched Quiet Place, people were wondering like, so they're like trying to like figure out these monsters, and even for like Bird Box, it's like where these monsters, like trying to figure out like what's the story behind them and whatever, and what caused them and what's the meaning. You know what I mean? Like, and so I like how the movie actually gave an explanation as to where they came from, what are they doing. Not what we really know, but we see them flying on the sky from like outer space, I can assume, and they're there, and basically they just immediately start attacking people. So there's like these mysterious balls of fire coming out of the sky, and then eventually chaos ensues, and then we have these frightening creatures just killing people left and right. And eventually they find out quickly enough not to make a sound, but obviously because they're frightened. But eventually, we don't see what happens later on as much, but we do get this huge important information of what happened the day that these creatures arrived. And also introduced us to Emmett too, because I found it was really smart. I love when movies do this. I love when they connect something that happened in the past, and then they connect it to like something that's happening now in the movie. So when they're watching baseball, watching Marcus play baseball, and then they're wondering about like um I think someone told Marcus to do a dive in baseball, which is like kind of like hitting the ground. And so obviously I'm not a baseball follower, but so obviously Reagan is deaf, and so Emmett, which is a family friend of theirs, or also another person who's also watching baseball because his kid was playing. He also went ahead and he just like he asked like, oh, what is dive in sign language, and so it was just this. And so eventually he uses that same sign language when they're at the island, and when they go ahead and there's these crazy people that Emmett was talking about, these people who he didn't want to visit Lee when he knew he was there and sending signals because he knew that there's people out there who turned crazy since the monsters arrived. And we see those guys exactly, just guys who are completely crazy and just willing to. I don't know what they're gonna do with Reagan and with Emmett, but they were just had like this really bad look in their eyes, like they were just so terrifying, and they're kind of like trapped there. And then he tells her this, you know what I mean? And then she dives into the water, and he escapes, and they eventually grab into the boat. And I just thought that was really a smart thing, you know what I mean? Just kind of like connecting that whole sign language thing back to what happened. I thought that was really like smart on the director's part. And I don't know. I just appreciate when movies do that. You know what I mean? They, you may look back and because when I watched the first part, I was like, okay, why are they telling us dive in sign language? Like, why is it like kind of you might see it's like a useless portion of the movie, but eventually when you watch all of it, you're like, oh, that was smart. At first I was like, whatever, but then eventually it's like, oh, I like how it tied into it. So one thing I would say I was confused about was the whole other place where there was a neighborhood of people who literally never interacted with the creatures and who just lived peacefully. I didn't understand what was going on there because and I didn't think I don't think I think it was also like just when Emmett talked with the man on the island, the voices were so low and I couldn't really hear what they were saying, but I didn't understand how there was a whole island of people in the community. They have, even this fire pit. They go out at night, beautiful homes, just this really nice community. And they're just going ahead and literally living as if life is completely normal. So I don't understand how come the creatures never came to them. And I think it was explained somewhere, but I don't know if I caught it. And if they did catch it, I think it has to be explained more clearly because how can they not have come over there when they're all over the world? Like, you're telling me one island they couldn't come there? And not only that, but there was also they didn't follow them either. Like, I wish maybe if they make a third movie, I want to know how the people even got to that island anyway, because I'm pretty sure the creatures would have gotten up with catched up with them. As you can see, there was also one creature that came on the boat, which I found a little bit really, really. He happened to be in the boat, and that's when Emmett started running and yelling. And I was like, oh my goodness, Emmett, don't yell, because this is seriously just gonna cause everyone to die. You're making as much noise as possible. And obviously, if I would see that, I would be like, ah, you know what I mean? But he was just running and going ahead and yelling and telling everyone and shouting at them, hey, there's this person who, not person, there's a creature that's on the island now. It's like now everyone starts screaming. It's like, it's just adding chaos. So of course everyone's gonna die now. So everyone's screaming, everyone's scared, and also you haven't seen these monsters in like how many years? I mean, they're like kind of on their own literally their own island. They don't know anything else. So that was a whole thing. And so there was a little flub in the movie that I found like that was kind of just like weird to me. Um, and then just the fact also when Digimon Hanso's character led them to the radio place. First of all, I'm wondering where they got a car from because there was no car throughout the movie, and there's a car that's on an island, and I'm just confused as to what's going on. They never used the car in the movie, obviously, because the car makes a bunch of noise. But when they came to the island, they used the car. And also, when I heard the beeping, he was obviously always honking and beeping the car. I was like, are you trying to kill yourself? But I found out later that, oh, that's actually just him trying to attack the creature. Because it's only one of them that came. So basically, trying to kill off one creature because it happened to come on the boat. And so, by the way, they can swim, which I didn't know. Which is, I'll get to that later. But it happened that he just kept beeping, beeping, beeping. And then eventually, what happened is that they went to the radio station. And then he was becoming so panicky. The man on the island, he just became panicky. He was like, and I found it kind of like weird and strange for the movie director to have it go like that because it's like, okay, this guy who's so confident and brash and he puts the kids in the closet, says stay there, he has a plan to go to the radio station, and now all of a sudden he's a scared little boy. Like, please, that doesn't make sense. It's like a Spartan warrior becoming a weak little mouse. It's like, what? Like, it's almost like his mind kind of like changed, you know? He started doubting himself and is like, I even forgot what he said, but it was just kind of like, getting panicky. And then eventually, he actually, I think he was also concerned about like if the creature actually came. And eventually, the creature came and got him. And I was like, are you kidding me? Like, seriously? First of all, his character was there for just such a short time, which is really sad. But also, I just found it like super like weird, just how it had to end like that. For someone who's like to be so brave and so just out of nowhere, he just becomes this meek little person. And also the creatures, I don't know if they're swimming or not because when they were at the boat dock, and I don't understand why they were all walking at night. That's completely scary. But when they were at the boat dock, there was a time when Emmett was underwater and he was kind of drowning, but then he got free eventually. But then he saw a creature that was actually underwater too, and it was like for a second that it was coming to get him. I was like, so can they swim? I was so confused. And if they can swim, that changes the dynamics in a really big way because that means they could have swim. They could have swum to the island. I mean, they could have easily done that. And so I don't know if the creature died. It's like it was just like kind of like a split second kind of thing. It was there, then it was gone. So I just found it kind of there were just some flubs in the movie where it was just kind of not explained well. And it happens a lot in like movies where like Bird Box or like what I mean, like alternate universe. What I mean, like oh, what happened if there was a bunch of monsters? I mean, kind of like what if what I mean? There's a lot of flubs and things that can't get explained and that don't make sense because you're trying to do too much. But I did enjoy the movie. I would say I was more invested in the whole scenario with Reagan and Emmett and going to the island, and that was the thing I enjoyed the most. The part with the baby and then the mom Evelyn and Marcus wasn't as interesting, and I was hoping like halfway into the movie that they would actually rejoin with them. I was hoping that Evelyn, Marcus, and the baby, or even at least Evelyn, would rejoin and you know meet them at the island and kind of go through that the whole journey with all of them instead of splitting it up. Because basically it was just basically Evelyn getting not groceries, but getting air for the baby, and then Marcus seeing Emmett's dead wife, and I just thought, and the baby kind of having to deal with lack of air and crying, and that was very suspenseful for sure. But I was just like, you know, I kind of wish they combined both stories maybe. But I think in the end, it ended up being kind of more of like Marcus and in Reagan's bravery, because in the end, they're the ones who both killed the creatures. They, there's because one creature came into Emmett's place, and so Marcus killed it, and then after that, Reagan also killed the creature that came into the island. And so I thought that was like a really nice way of kind of setting it up. And so I really think they set it up for a third, not third, yeah, a third movie, like a trilogy maybe. I can definitely see that, because the way it ended, it didn't like end on a note in which you can say, oh, that's a nice way of tying up the loose ends and whatnot. It was very much like an open. I don't say open. It was kind of like, it definitely left a room for more, for sure. It definitely left like there's gonna be more to come and more is gonna happen later on. And even though it ended differently, could end up with Marcus and Reagan and other ones to kind of lead the way and help their mom and help the family in terms of surviving. If they meet a creature, they're gonna be the ones to kill them. You know what I mean? So I thought that was definitely something that I could see happening in the third movie. And who knows, we might have a movie in which the third one could be like one where they're kind of like older. So maybe they'll be like teens, or well, they are teens now. Maybe they'll be like, I don't know, maybe a little bit older. Maybe they'll be adults now. So I don't know, like just their mom is older. Because also the elderly too. You know what I mean? I mean, you have a baby. You have a baby, right? That's a huge issue. But now the baby's gonna grow up, right? And then, but also, what about like an elderly person, like an old person? They're not as nimble. They can't walk long distances. You could use a wheelchair, but then it's gonna be so creaky and whatnot, and a cane, and so that'd be interesting. Obviously, the mom won't be that old. Evelyn won't be that old either. But I kind of also wonder about that for that universe. And also for the baby, I'm curious as to how that can work. Yes, they have the air supply always for the baby, the oxygen tank. What happens with the terrible twos? You know what I mean? Where kids just don't listen. The whole toddler phase, where I mean, they're crying, they're fussy, they're kicking, they're screaming, and you can't tell them, oh, there's a creature here that could literally kill us all. They don't understand. No child will listen to you. So I wonder, like, once the baby grows older, okay, baby is young now, that's fine. I mean, you can use a pacifier or whatever they're using an oxygen tank. But when he grows older, I don't understand how it's gonna work. But definitely for the third movie, I'm hoping I can also see some more flashbacks, maybe of like, since they showed us like in the beginning, like, oh, this is how the aliens came out, aliens creatures came that came out from outer space, which isn't which isn't really explaining a lot, to be honest with you. Maybe they'll go into more detail. Hopefully, I can see another flashback of like what happened after the aliens came a little bit more. I don't know, like just how did they end up finding the house there, and how did they end up kind of setting up, a camp and getting these technology and maps, and I don't know, just maybe that's besides the point, but maybe Reagan, I could see definitely trying to figure out where the creatures came from. Maybe if there's like a way of preventing them from coming, because I don't know if like they all came at one point, or if they came, one after another. Like if maybe there's still some still coming, probably not though. If they're being born, I don't know. I can't even tell. But maybe Reagan will find out like where these came from, these creatures, and like how to put a stop to them. Maybe like why are they here? You know what I mean? Why now? What is their purpose? Because I did like how she found out eventually what was the song saying. The song had a message of like find me by the island. So I thought that was really a nice touch. And so yeah, for the third movie, I'm looking forward to see what's gonna happen for sure. I would like there to be a third movie. I still have some unanswered questions. And also, for sure, big thing I want to know is also who else is out there. We found Emmett, we found people on the island, which I thought was kind of pretty inconclusive as to like why are they on the island and how can they have been this safe for that long? They're getting food and supplies from where exactly? That was even Emmett. Like I don't know where his food stash is, so that doesn't make sense to me as much. But we saw also on the map that Reagan had a bunch of these um, by these little locations that she'd marked where people are. She saw signals and stuff like that. So I want to figure out also who else is out there, and hopefully they'll be nice, not like the people that we saw before who were crazy and wanting to murder people. Hopefully we'll find other people and maybe like a larger community too, and maybe it'll be easier to like come together and like defeat the creatures or whatever. Because I don't know, like only we can see one community, but how about like the rest of like the world? Like, are they all suffering too, or is it just what I mean? Like, I don't know. Like, they can't travel obviously because that's a lot of sound. Car, bike, plane. That's so much noise. But hopefully they'll find other people in the third movie. So I'm looking forward to that. Looking forward to see more John Krasinski flashbacks. I'm here for those. So yeah, that's my movie review. And so, but definitely this movie was really good. The first movie I'd say was probably the best one, but I enjoyed this one a lot. So please go out and watch it. It came out May 28th. So see you guys next time.